Hey there, it's Wednesday, which means it's time for another AAA session, which stands for Ask Alyssa Anything, where I am responding to your questions about the book publishing industry and how to strengthen your own story. As always, I want to give a genuine thanks to everyone who is submitting questions to me, who's commenting, who's liking these videos, because I love engaging with the community in this way and hearing more about what you all are working on. So let's get some housekeeping out of the way before we dive in today. First, if you're watching this and haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button to join this amazing community of writers. And while you're at it, please hit that thumbs up button because it really helps out my channel. And I have a free resource for anyone who has a current work in progress in the description below. It is called my free story self-assessment worksheet. What it's going to do is help you see your story from an outside perspective so that you can evaluate what is working well in it and what could be improved on the next draft. So if you're feeling stuck, it could be a really helpful tool for you to figure out what your next step looks like. It's also going to sign you up for my exclusive newsletter where I publish interviews with publishing industry insiders and published authors, so you don't want to miss out on all of the great advice and insight I share in the newsletter. There's also a link in the description to go straight to the newsletter if you want to check that out. We have some excellent questions today, so let's dive in. First question here. Hi Alyssa, I made a small writers group at my local library and a published author joined nonfiction. When me and the other member, there's only 3 of us, asked him about publishing, he said that having a TikTok account with a decent number of followers was key for nonfiction publishing, and that you would have to handle marketing yourself. He was unsure about fiction. I wanted to ask if that was the case for fiction, specifically fantasy. So let's talk a little bit about TikTok and publishing. First, you want to consider what publishing method you are going down. In this case, it's unclear if the published author you're referencing was self-published or if they went through a traditional publisher, so I'll try to cover both here. When it comes to marketing and you are self-publishing, then it is going to be important for you to have some type of following, whether that is on TikTok or Twitter or Instagram or some other social platform. Because the marketing is going to fall entirely to you because you're self-publishing, you are in charge of your entire publishing journey. And having that built-in audience is going to be really critical for you to find readers. Unfortunately, it's usually not enough just for you to publish the book and have it listed online because it's very difficult for people to find it without knowing you in some way. So if you have some type of online following, then that can be very helpful to direct people to your book and let them know what you're working on and let them know that you have something published. When it comes to traditional publishing and marketing, there is going to be a marketing plan set for you by the publisher, which could include advertisements, publicity in news outlets and or industry publications, reviews, events, etc. That said, it is always helpful for the writer to still have some kind of social following or some kind of community in which they can promote their book, because of course that direct outreach is only going to help the book sales. That said, with traditional publishing, you're not going to be wholly dependent on your own marketing abilities, right? Because you will have a team. But in both cases, TikTok can really only help you. And that goes for nonfiction and fiction. We're seeing a ton of fiction writers go on BookTok and create huge followings. Some book talkers even get book deals because of their large following. I think that so many writers are flocking to TikTok is because the virality aspect of the platform really allows books to just amass a ton of attention, and it really is driving quite a bit of book sales. We're even seeing in stores like Barnes & Noble have a BookTok table for books that people are talking about and reviewing on BookTok especially. That said, do I think it is absolutely critical for a fiction writer if you are not interested in joining TikTok? No, it is not a requirement by any means to publish. Having any type of social media is not required to publish, by the way. That said, if it is something you enjoy and you find that you are liking growing your community on TikTok, then it can only help you. Next question here. Have you any videos on rhythm pacing to keep someone reading? I had this in an agent feedback and I'm not sure what it means. So I'm envisioning here that you got some type of feedback from an agent who said the pace of the narrative was slow or it just wasn't engaging them. So how do you fix that? With those sample pages, the first 10 pages typically that you send to a literary agent, it is really important for you to establish a point of conflict or tension in order to get the agent and eventually the reader interested in reading more. If it is a slower scene that's just establishing the setting or describing the main character, then it's unlikely that the agent is going to feel compelled to read more. You want to make sure there is some type of tension or point of conflict to then create intrigue, right? That's why I recommend identifying the inciting incident of your plot, which is the moment that then kickstarts the rest of the story, where things change for that main character, and then the dominoes are all falling down because of this event. Try to have that come as early as possible in the story. If it is currently not within the first 50 pages, that could be a problem, because it's going to be hard to keep someone engaged for that many scenes without reaching that inciting incident where things really start to take off and the plot starts to have that momentum and that strong sense of pacing. So that would be the first thing that I would revisit if you are getting feedback on your pacing. Here's another question. When you nudge an agent, do you include the original query, like as a forwarded email at the bottom of the new one? Or send a completely different email and just mention when you queried them? I would just reply or forward the original query so that they can see the date and the text of the original query with your follow-up. It can be helpful just for organizational reasons to keep everything in one thread. Here's another question. Piggybacking off the question about offers of rep, what sort of questions should you pose to agents offering representation? How should one structure an effective interview that covers key elements you need to know? It is very, very important for you as an author who is seeking representation to ensure that you sign with an agent who shares your creative vision and your editorial style. So here is a quick list of things I would definitely recommend that you chat with an agent before you agree to sign on with them. The first would be their history of book deals. If this information is not readily available online in their profile or on Publishers Marketplace, you definitely want to ask about past book deals they've done, what types of houses they have connections with, and you can even ask them what type of imprint or what specific publishers they see being a good match for your book. Ultimately, that's what you are signing with them for them to do, to represent you to publishers. So it is completely fair game for you to get a sense of who those publishers might be to make sure that those are places where you would like to see yourself published. I would also ask questions around timeline. When do you expect that the manuscript will be ready to submit to editors? Do you anticipate that we will need to do a lot of work on the manuscript prior to it being ready, or do you see us doing that in the next few months? Publishing is notoriously a slow business, and you don't want to sign with an agent to then be disappointed that things aren't moving according to the pace you had expected. So it is very important for you to set those expectations from the beginning. The final area I would discuss with an agent is really your editorial styles to make sure that they align. Ask them what type of feedback they typically provide their clients. Do they give an editorial report, or do they do inline edits to the manuscript? How many times do they do those revisions? How editorially inclined are they? Some editors are extremely editorially inclined, some are former editors themselves, whereas others are less editorially inclined. So you really want to make sure your vision for how the editorial side of things is going to work aligns from the beginning. If they do indicate that they are an editorial agent and they have ideas for how to revise the book, ask them what some of those big picture ideas are if they haven't given you that feedback already. The last thing you want is to sign with an agent who then gives you a ton of notes that you don't agree with and you don't want to do. You want to avoid a situation where you feel like the agent does not share your vision and is trying to change your story, so make sure that you are on the same page from the beginning. That's all we had time for today. Thanks again to everyone who submitted a question, and if you have something you'd like to ask, drop it in the comments here and it will be added to my queue for my future sessions. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, grab my free story self-assessment, and check out my newsletter link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching and happy writing.